Alright, welcome everybody. Today is the last day of school. Yay! Well, it's winter vacation. And, in honor of that, I don't know, this background's pretty good, I think. We'll leave it at that. So, today's goal is to be all prepped for the final. The final was written yesterday over the span of about 5 hours. And, I can tell you, I'm not going to give you the answers to any questions or anything on it, but if you have any questions about the topics that are on the final, go ahead and post them now, and I will answer them without giving you, the answers. But I'll tell you the knowledge you need to know, the topics you should prep for. The thing will go live at 11 if you want. You can take it in an hour from now. So I told you all that it would go live on Monday. It's technically live at 11 a.m. today, and it will run through finals week Thursday at midnight. Okay. And then you have basically the Friday, if you have any missing work or anything like that, to message me, and we're gonna get all the things graded. The TA and I are getting them all graded, and just take a look at your grades. If there's anything missing, anything in error, just let me know. Okay, so how was the coloring assignment? You guys have fun with that? It hurt my brain when I did it. It's a good puzzle, and it does show you the. I thought that was a nice way of ending the semester. Let's put it that way. Ending with some practicals, some beautiful, complicated things come out of very simple rules. Coloring, which seems like just a kid's puzzle, actually surprisingly has many applications in computer science and things like that. If anything's wrong on your grades, just Discord me. You can email me, but Discord's always faster. Under 7 minutes, yeah, that's pretty good. That's very cool. There are 2 sample finals that are up right now. I can't guarantee you that the topics are going to be the same. Maybe we can go through that. That might be useful. Because the topics I do teach different every semester. So I don't think we talked about pseudoscience this semester. Maybe we could do that. Maybe we could do that today, depending on how quickly we get through the material. Let me pull up the sample final. Let me take a look at that. So the actual final is here. It's called Final Part 1 because it's Part 1 out of 1 of the final. How many points is it worth? It's worth 40 points. It's got about 30 questions on it. Some of the questions are worth more than 1 point. There's some matching, covers every topic, essentially, that we've talked about in this class. Including Python. There's 1 question on Python, 1 question on Scratch. Is there a question about me? No. Not directly. Maybe? That's actually a good question. Yeah. There is a question about me. So what are the newer terms from after midterm 2 will there be? Okay. Fractals. Replication crisis. Let's see. Let's pull the modules. Coloring is not on it, but fractals are on it. Replication crisis. The nature of scientific revolutions are both on it. Binary numbers are on it. Python is on it. Grand Theft Auto is on it. Deductive, inductive, and abductive reasoning has 4 points on it. Set theory has 5 points on it. Capstone essay now. I don't think anything on technically on in-group bias. Yeah, set theory is set theory. Nothing on motivated reasoning either. Let's see. Fallacies and cognitive biases. There is a total of 11 points on fallacies and cognitive biases. So it's like a quarter of the final. Both formal and informal. So in other words, modus ponens, modus tollens, affirming the consequent, denying the antecedent, recognize all 4 of those forms, and both in English and in symbolic logic. And then also study the list of fallacies. You can find the list in the files section here. And I think I updated it with stuff. Fallacies cheat sheet. Yeah. Let's see if I have anything more recent. I don't think so. And nothing more recent. Okay. Scientific method. No. Kuhn's nature of scientific revolutions, yes. Yeah, I was going to put a question on scientific method and took it out because it was too easy. Peer reviews are due a week after the original capstone essay. Yeah. It's the last time you'll see me in class. Not necessarily. You don't have to take other classes with me. If you are interested in making video games, I teach 2 semesters of video game development. And even if you're a Fresno State student, there's nothing that stops you from taking classes at Clovis Community College. Like it's quite normal for like CSci 40. CSci 40 fills up at Fresno State, and then they send their excess students over to us at Clovis Community College because we're idiots and we just add everybody. So, are the peer reviews assigned? Yes, they are. They were assigned as of Wednesday, I believe. What kind of questions are there going to be for GTA? What is the fastest car? No, I'm kidding. Nothing really. You don't really have to know anything about GTA. What are all the GTA 5? Yeah, what does it mean when you have 5 stars? No. Hijack your BFF. Yeah. Yeah, so I would go over the fallacies cheat sheet. There are, I think, 6 questions that are on the formal and fallacies, which are the, no, that's Microsoft. There we go. So, now Microsoft Teams go away. The formal fallacies and formal valid arguments are modus ponens is valid, denying the antecedent is invalid, modus tollens is valid, and affirming the consequent is invalid. And so learn to recognize all 4 of these things here, both in English and in like symbolic logic form. Okay. There's 6 points on them. And then there's a number of valid and, valid, invalid, and sound arguments because you guys had trouble with it, so I just keep pounding on it. The technique, again, for determining the difference between valid and valid and sound, it's a two-step process. The first step, whenever I give you a valid, invalid, or sound problem, is you first check for validity. You look at the form of the problem. If I say all mammals have fur, I am a mammal, I have fur, before you even pay attention, like, are these premises true? Is the conclusion true? Before you look at any of this stuff, you have to first look at the shape of the argument. Okay? So all X are Y, I am X, therefore I am Y. Is that true? If all X are Y, I am X, therefore Y. Is that a valid form? Form is the shape of the argument. Like, if you replaced all of those words like mammals and fur with just symbols, like, does the logic follow? Does it? Yeah, it does work. So the form is valid. And then, so the first step you do when you do any of those problems is you first check for validity. If it's not valid, you're done. It's invalid, stop. If it is valid, then you have to determine, is it valid in sound or is it valid but not sound? That's the second question. So there's one question for validity, and after that, the second question is it sound? And if it's not, you put down valid but not sound, or valid for short. If it is sound, then you write down valid and sound. And this check you do by saying, are both premises true? So the first question is, does the shape, does the form of the argument work? If you pull out all of the fancy English words and just use X's and Y's and things like that, does the logic internally make sense? And you have to, like, this is the hardest part, because people get distracted by, like, yeah, well, all mammals do have fur, you know. Put all that aside. Just look at it from the lens of, like, logical symbols. And so step one, you check to see if the form works. Step two, you check to see if the premises are true. If both premises are true, it is valid and sound. If either or both of the premises are false, then it is valid but not sound. So, for example, all presidents have been men. Joe Biden is a man. Joe Biden is president. All X are Y. Y, therefore X. Is that form valid or invalid? All presidents have been men. Joe Biden is a man. Therefore, Joe Biden is president. All presidents have been men. Bill Kearney is a man. Therefore, Bill Kearney is president. It's invalid. Yeah. All X are Y. Y, therefore X. No. This is the affirming the consequent fallacy. All X are Y. Y, therefore X. If, however, and so people will get distracted by this, because that's true. All presidents have, in fact, been men. Joe Biden is a man. That's also true. Joe Biden is president. That's also true. All three of these things are true. And so a lot of students will just be like, yep, that's either valid or sound. I don't know which. No. It's invalid. And that's because, don't get distracted by, like, Joe Biden's and things like that. Because the first thing you have to do is look at the shape of the argument. You know? All presidents are men. Joe Biden's a man. Joe Biden's president. All X are Y. Y, therefore X. That's affirming the consequent. Okay? So, all presidents have been men. Bill Kearney is a man. Therefore, Bill Kearney is president. Right? You can see it doesn't work. If you change this, if you fix this to be modus ponens, which looks like this, all presidents have been men. Joe Biden is president, therefore Joe Biden is a man, then it would be true. But instead, it's affirming the consequent instead. Okay? So, it is possible for something to have a true premise, 1, a true premise 2, a true conclusion, and be completely invalid and a worthless argument that needs to be thrown away. Okay? Good morning, Vin, and I love your profile pic, by the way. 4-coloring profile pic. Yeah. Next semester is just all going to be coloring the entire semester. That's all it will be. All x are y, x, therefore y. In this case, this is sound, right? So the first, we already determined the form is correct, right? All x are y, x, therefore y. Modus ponens, technically slightly different. It's a set theory version of it, but whatever. If you were a mammal, you have fur. I'm a mammal, therefore I have fur. Okay. True premise, true conclusion. Doesn't matter about the true. Well, I mean, it will be true because the logic's good. True and true. That makes it sound, valid and sound, or sound for short. Okay. So yeah, just go through as many of those as you can. There's 6 points just on these 4 things. Modus ponens, denying the antecedent. Modus tollens, affirming the consequent. You gotta think like a machine, and don't get distracted by words. The fact that these words are true. Okay, it's still hard. Yeah, well, that's why it's a college class. You know, this is a college class on critical thinking. It's not all easy stuff like coloring. So there are 5 points, I think, on truth tables. So go back and look at the Xi books for truth tables. Basically, with the truth table, whenever you have something like not x and y, what you do is you spin out all the possible combinations of x and y. So true, 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 false, false, true, false, false. And then you work through these complicated binary expressions, one operation at a time. And your operations are and, or, and not, which could be written as and, or not, or the ampersand for and, the vertical slash for or, the exclamation mark for not, or it could be written like this, or this, or this. Because why not? Why not have 5 different sets of terminology for the exact same concept, right? So what you do with a truth table is you make one column for each extra step, right? So you have x and y, then x and y is a new column as you and them together. The rule for and is if both of the inputs are true, the output is true. So for an and, both sides have to be true. Both x and y have to be true. So in this case, true and true is true, and then any other combination is false, right? True and false is false, false and true is false, false and false is false. For or, either or both could be true. So true or true is true, true or false is true, false or true is true, false or false is false. And then for not, it's just the opposite. Not true is false, not false is true. So if you know false, if you know not, if you know or, and you know and, that's it. That's basically all there is. You know, you can see like XNOR and things like that, but they're just combinations of, you know, of these things. So if you understand and, true is true, and the other thing is false. For x or y, only if both of them are false is it false. All others are true. And not, you can do anything with truth tables. And so here we're computing not x anded with y. So x anded with y, true is true, true and false is false. And then we take this column and not it. So true becomes false, false becomes true. And then, you know, as you keep making these things more and more complicated, they're always going to have either one column as input or 2 columns as input. One column if it's a not, 2 columns if it's an and or an or. And so you just look at whatever column corresponds to the left input, whatever column corresponds to the right input, and you just apply this rule. If they're both true for an and, the output's true. All other combinations are false. If it's an or, all the inputs, all the combinations are true except for both being false, which makes it false. And you can just sit there and make these things as big and complicated as you want. And that'll allow you to evaluate the outcome of all these programs, no matter how complicated your if statement is, for all possible inputs. So for example, you might write a code for a sentry gun saying the only time you fire is if it is not true that they are both on your team and carrying ID. So if they are on your team and carrying ID, you don't fire. In all other circumstances, you fire. So you fire if they're not on your team. You fire if they're not carrying ID, because they could be a spy. If they're both not carrying ID and not on your team, you definitely fire. And so when you're writing actual programs in real life, a lot of times we will use truth tables to sort of go through every possible combination, and we look at the output and sort of be like, oh wait, no, the sentry gun's going to shoot a My Little Pony. We should probably not allow that. So you just can look at every possible input, look at all the outputs for every possible input, and just determine like if your sentry gun's going to murder a My Little Pony by accident or not. So. The dress. Oh yeah. Right, the blue or gold dress, whatever that was. Yeah. For the truth table, it'll just be or, and not. That's correct. Yeah. That's correct. Because all the other things you'll see with like XOR and things like that, they're just combinations of and, or, and not. So, that's it. All right. Yeah. So, or what was the other one? The Yanni, or what was it? Yeah. There's somebody saying like Yanni. Okay. So yeah, there's 5 points on truth tables. Go through the side books if you don't remember any of those. And then go through the valid, invalid, and sound. There's plenty of quiz questions we've done on this. We kind of hammered this subject a lot this semester, and the reason for that is because, especially if you've never done computer science before, it's hard to think like a computer. And computer science requires a slightly different mindset than most fields. You sort of have to learn to think very sort of precisely and like a computer, I guess. And you can't let your frail human emotions get in the way, right? So, we'll miss final. All right. Reverse card. Okay. So, yep. All right. So let me look more at the actual final. So truth tables are 5 points, 6 points on valid, invalid, sound, and logical fallacies, 5 points on informal fallacies like black and white, and cognitive biases like black and white thinking, survivorship bias, sunk cost fallacy, appeal to popularity, appeal to authority, all that kind of stuff. 5 points on that. There's one question on, I think it was, who was asking about the scientific method? There's no question per se on the scientific method, but I do ask a question about what I look for in a scientific news article. So if you remember that quiz for a couple days ago, might be worth reviewing. Question on algorithmic bias, theories of truth. So 3 points on theories of truth, correspondence, coherence, consensus, unfortunately, all of which start with C, pragmatic, Marxist. Yeah. So if you remember theories of truth from back in the day. This final is all encompassing. Nothing on framing, I don't think. There is one on corporate censorship. Piracy has a question. There's a question on parasocial networking, or why do I always say so? Because it's like social networking, right? Parasocial relationships. There's a question on parasocial relationships. One question on Scratch. One question on Python. One question on the replication crisis, which is here. Like I said, fallacies, cognitive biases. Set theory has 3 points on it. One question on Kuhn's nature of scientific revolutions. One question on binary numbers. Yeah, deductive, inductive, and abductive reasoning is 2 points. And then 1 point is based on the extra credit workshops that we've done. So that is the entire point total for the final, which goes live in half an hour. Okay. So make sure you are prepped for that. I'm giving you 2 hours, over 2 hours, I think, to do this. What is it? 3 hours to do it. So it's about 30 questions. You have about 10 minutes per question. It's pretty generous, I think. Computational what? I don't know. What did I say? Yeah, there's something on almost everything in the class. I think there's one mention of the Therac 25. I don't think I talked about framing on the final. Group bias, I don't think is on the final. I think, yeah, motivated reasoning is not on the final either. So, but there is a reference to something Shelby said. So yeah, I think basically every parasocial network. Why is it a parasocial? It's not a parasocial network. It's a parasocial relationship. Social networking. Okay. There's a question on the extra credit. Yes, I won't say anything more than that though. So, like not how there's mostly valid and invalid questions. Yeah, basically I think pretty much every lecture I gave has something on it. Maybe not framing, forgot to do that one. Types of ethical systems are on there. So I think it's like 5 points too. So make sure you review all the different, maybe 3 points. Make sure you review the ethical theories and both sets of them. Yep. So let's take a look at sample file. If you sub to me, I'll show you the answers for them. That's fine. So I've put up 2 sample finals for you. Search for this. So I put up the sample final from a year ago and from spring. So don't take a sample final thinking it's the actual final. You'll be deeply and profoundly disappointed with your life choices. So, okay, 26 questions, 40 points total. So let's look at the final from last year. Actually, I could probably do the stats on it, maybe. No? Okay. Oh yeah, there's a question on corporate censorship as well. You guys in class right now? It's not letting you join. Is the professor streaming? I'm streaming. I sure hope so. I mean, yeah. There's 24 people watching me right now. Only 24 though. Disappointing. Out of the 90 in the class, there's 24 that made it to the end. Very few people have dropped, actually. It's actually one of the best semesters for dropping. Only a few students dropped, honestly. Okay. So, if you have an Oculus Rift and you say something that Facebook doesn't like, this has actually changed, by the way, since a year ago. So a year ago, if you said something that Facebook didn't like and they put you in Facebook prison if you got zucked, then you couldn't play with your virtual reality headset because being able to play with your virtual reality headset was tied to your Facebook account. And so, for example, a friend of mine got banned from Facebook for saying something supporting Kyle Rittenhouse, and so Facebook banned him for promoting violence somehow, and they canceled his Facebook account. And if he had had an Oculus Rift, which he didn't, because he, quite obviously was not a fan of Facebook. It wasn't his first ban, by the way. His earlier ban was posting a photograph of a nipple, but it was a male nipple, not a female nipple, so it wasn't obscene. But the Facebook image filters like, that's a nipple, that's obscene. He's like, no, it's a male nipple, it's okay. And so they temporarily banned him for like a week for that. Because for whatever reason, might look the same, but a male nipple, A-okay. Female nipple, whoa, not allowed. It was just a shot of that, He was making a point, Like if your image filtering system can't tell the difference between the two, then how is it obscene? Like if they're actually identical to look at, why is one obscene and one not? 1 week ban for that one. Yeah. So, it's like, I don't know what the difference is. Like the AI can't tell the difference, so we'll just ban you. I don't know. Yeah. So Facebook's censorship. It's a corporate censorship issue, obviously. Has issues, And of course, Kyle Rittenhouse turned out to be, innocent, right? But it's not like they unbanned his account, right? So, largest protest in history took place in India with 250 million people protesting the new farming laws, as well as minimum income. We didn't even get to talk about this semester. It's a shame. So, there is I guess a computer scientist, even though he's not really, called Noam Chomsky. He's a Marxist philosopher, works at MIT. And he has a book called Manufacturing Consent, which talks about some of these issues we've been talking about with the media, and like why the media doesn't cover stories very well, or it neglects certain stories and things like that. And so, he basically says that due to the way that our media is set up, there are certain things that we'll just never be good at covering. And, like media outlets very rarely want to report anything bad about their advertisers because then they lose advertising, right? And they rarely criticize their sources because then their sources won't talk to them anymore. So if you're friends with a senator, then they'll rarely criticize that senator. Flack is when the media gets pushback from the public for not covering something. For example, when Bill Clinton, there was a scandal under Bill Clinton. I don't know if you guys have heard of this. Bill Clinton was the president in the 90s, 92 to 98, something like that. What was it? 92 to 96? 92 to 1,000. 2000. And he had a scandal with one of the interns in the White House, and so not Mrs. Clinton. No, the scandal was not with Mrs. Clinton. The scandal was with Bill Clinton and one of his interns, And so what happened was the media did its best to actually suppress the story of Bill Clinton. He didn't sleep with her, but he did other things with her. The media did its best to suppress the story, but this is when the internet was first coming online, and the story started spreading on Drudge Report, in fact, which is one of the media sources I still follow today, in part because they'll talk about things outside of the more limited scope of the mainstream news here. And so eventually there was enough flack on the media outlets, like, why are you not covering the story, that they had to cover it. So it's Manufacturing Consent itself is a very biased book, but it's worth thinking about. I know that one of the takeaways from this class is, like, you should turn your critical thinking eye on the media itself, because in a lot of subjects they're just untrustworthy, and so you should always try to get, like, if there's any big debate, anything that's really contentious in our society, try to seek out news stories from multiple viewpoints and multiple angles, because they will present to you different sets of facts. And if they ever materially disagree on something, like this happened, no, this happened, then you need to dig into the primary sources and find out which one of those two things is actually true. Okay. And there is the first question on your final is, in fact, is this true or not? True or false question. In fact, there's a lot of true and false questions on this test. So, early start of social media influence. It was kind of before social media, but it was the like internet news, and how internet news actually forced the mainstream news to actually cover a story when they really were doing their best to suppress it. Like, they were just not running any stories on it. And then that eventually led to the impeachment of a president. So is that a bloody man? Yeah, this is the trolley problem here. So this is the show The Good Place, and so he's a moral philosopher, and he is generating scenarios on a trolley where you have to either run over this person or run over this person, and they're doing the experiment over and over again. He just gets sprayed by blood over and over again. You'd see he's not very happy about this. Okay, so yeah, we didn't talk about pseudoscience either. So pseudoscience is when somebody makes an unfalsifiable statement. For example, Pantene Pro V contains provitamins, that helps your hair glow. Like, what the hell is a provitamin? Like, I know what it is in, like, chemistry inside of your blood system. It's something that I think is a precursor to vitamins or something like that. What the hell does that have to do with your hair, or what it does for your hair? I don't know. Could you even test to see if something has provitamins in it in your shampoo? I don't even know. I don't even know if it's a real thing. Another example of pseudoscience would be like Pinta water. Have you guys ever heard of this? Pinta water. It was sold at like Lassen's Market, things like that, like these hippie things. And Pinta water was called Pinta water because they would expose the water to like ultrasonic sound, ultra purified water. Yeah, and then by vibrating the water at a certain frequency, the H2O molecules would form pentagon-shaped molecules inside of the water, which would hydrate your body more efficiently than regular old boring water. And pseudoscience. There's no way you can test for that, because you put it under a microscope, you don't see any pentagon-shaped waters. It's just complete nonsense. So they're actually sued for making misleading statements, and lost. And so they had to change their description to just be ultra purified, modern, high energy, ultra pure, no additives to the water. Yeah, I hope not. It's water. Fast hydration. It's water. You know what I mean? And so pseudoscience is one of those things that I usually talk about. We just didn't get to this semester. And And the demarcation line that most people use is by this guy called Karl Popper, who said that you have to be able to falsify. You have to be able to make a test that, in theory, they could prove your claim to be wrong. And for things like petawater, there's no claim you can make. There's no claim that you can make that would prove it wrong, because you put it under a microscope, you don't see it, but they say, oh, well, it broke down. Or, yeah. Astronomy is another example of pseudoscience, right? You read your, let's see what the astronomy, astrology, not astronomy. Astronomy is science. Astrology is not a science. So I am, my birthday's coming up, yeah. All right, you're signing up for some major changes. Lean into that potent emotional storm you feel brewing within as it guides you directly towards that which needs changing and release. Lover Venus unites with transformative Pluto in your sign, helping you address outgrown patterns and concerning independence and partnerships. Meanwhile, the first quarter moon in Pisces illuminates important changes to be made around your mental health and communication style. So there is absolutely no way that you can test this to see if it's real or not. If they make some sort of claim and you're like, oh, it doesn't really apply, they're like, oh, well, you just didn't understand it right. You're like, there's absolutely no way that you can test that to see if it's true or not. They slip drugs into the water. Muscle milk, yeah. Alternative medicine's interesting because it's I think it's listed under pseudoscience on Wikipedia. Any practice which aims to achieve the healing effects of medicine which lacks biological plausibility and is untested, untestable, or proven ineffective. That's actually not the definition used by the any of the major medical organizations. And this is something that I fought with the people on Wikipedia about, because this is not actually the definition. If you look at the National Institutes of Health, the World Health Organization, the National Health Service, none of the major international health organizations actually use that as the definition. The definition of alternative medicine is something that is alternative to standard practice. That's it. And so the federal government funds a journal of alternative medicine where it does experiments and tests to see, like, if you take milk thistle, does that improve your liver health? Because that's Rockstar drink, right? You guys know Rockstar is the energy drink of college students everywhere. The reason why it's called Rockstar is because Rockstar has milk thistle in it, or used to at least. I don't know if it still does. And there was an alternative medicine claim that milk thistle, with a potent herb, milk thistle, yeah. The claim was milk thistle is good for your liver. So after you go out and party all night like a rock star, you can drink a Rockstar energy drink, and the milk thistle will purify your liver. And it's complete nonsense, right? Like, it just simply doesn't work, right? But that was something that was testable, right? And so when my wife was in pharmacy school, they have a semester on alternative medicine to see what the alternative medicines actually do. So, for example, and a lot of people think, well, if it's alternative medicine, it doesn't do anything. Wrong. You would be, in some cases, lethally wrong if you believe that. There are biologically active compounds in a lot of alternative medicines. So, for example, St. John's wort, which is metabolized by CYP3A4, I believe. John's wort has all sorts of knock-on effects if you take it with different drugs. Wikipedia. Side effects. So if you take St. John's wort and SSRIs, which is, I think, is sort of antidepressant, Prozac. So if you take St. John's wort, which is used as an antidepressant, if you take it with Prozac, then it will actually cause more Prozac than you expected to get into your system, because St. John's wort, I believe, is metabolized by CYP3A4. Or maybe it's an inhibitor of CYP3A4. It's an inducer of CYP3A4. Okay. So, yeah. So CYP3A4 is one of the most important enzymes in your liver that breaks down a lot of different drugs. And if you have a drug that increases or decreases the enzymatic activity of CYP3A4, it will have knock-on effects with all sorts of different other drugs. And St. John's wort does affect it. And so a lot of people who think that alternative medicine just means it's like, what's it called? Like, what's it called when you just like essentially drink water? You like dilute something, so homeopathic remedies. And not all homeopathic remedies are diluted down to water level either. You have to be very careful with this kind of stuff. So, yeah, and so they study it for an entire month because there is a wide range of alternative medicine remedies, and some of them do stuff like, willow bark. If you've ever read the Wheel of Time series, they brew willow bark tea, and willow bark is basically what aspirin came from, And so if you want to take aspirin but with more steps, you can boil willow bark tea, and so contains salicin, so salicylic acid, is that the same thing? Yeah. So, yeah, it's don't think that just because something's alternative medicine, it's biologically neutral. You would be sometimes lethally wrong by that. And also don't think that because it's alt med, it's safe either. So yeah, like I said, I've had arguments with that. I'm like, look, nobody uses this definition. Why are you using this definition? And there's just for whatever reason, there's a bunch of editors on Wikipedia that just insist on having the wrong definition as the lead for alternative medicine, despite it not actually being the definition used by anyone. So it's one of the greatest failings of Wikipedia is that if you just get a bunch of people that are biased in there, they can just make it say whatever you want. You can't edit war them. Yeah. So Wikipedia is kind of garbage sometimes. Like whenever it comes to like things in math and kind of neutral things like that, like Wikipedia is pretty good. When it comes to anything that's like politically biased, be very aware that Wikipedia does have people whose essentially job it is to make sure a web page, a Wikipedia page, says something that they want it to say. So then their appeals process is absolute garbage as well. Okay. So pseudoscience. Okay. Stallman, my boy Richard Stallman proposed all digital media should be freely copyable with artists paid out of pool money set up by the government. Each individual could vote each year with the artists they like. Yeah. So this was Stallman's solution to piracy, which was that all downloads should be free, and then people should just get paid based on a proportion of the downloads they get. And in fact, this is how Spotify and YouTube Music and things like that work these days, right? You pay your monthly subscription into YouTube Music, and then that money gets apportioned to the different artists based on the percentage of downloads they get. So I'm going to be going till 1 o'clock. So if you need to bail out, Castro, it's been a pleasure having you in the class. Good luck on the final. You can come back and watch the rest of this recording. It's about 50 minutes in right now. So I'm not going to be lecturing this whole time. It is going to be not a 3-hour-long lecture. I just want to make sure I've covered everything. So yeah, it's technically this is technically not a class that we're doing right now. This is actually the consultation hours. So yeah, so technically you guys got me till 1 today. I'm not exactly sure how consultation hours work for an adjunct, because it's not a thing we do at Clovis Community College. We don't have consultation hours. We do something called Power Up Week, where professors will offer extra office hours, and I don't know if that's the same thing as this. So I just kind of do my own thing. So this thing will be uploaded on YouTube. So come back 50 minutes in, and if you have to leave now, you can watch the rest of it. because I do kind of want to go through this sample final and just make sure that you guys know the answers to at least the sample final. Cryptography hides information so that only the recipient can read it. If you only care about the outcome of your actions, ethically speaking, this makes you a what? You only care about outcome, or primarily care about outcome. What kind of ethicist does this make you? If you need to speak to me privately, whenever I finish going through the final, I'll cancel. I'm going to stop the recording. Then message me. Then I'll be around till 1. Okay. Deontologists care about intentions. They want you to make sure that your heart is in the right place. That they don't care about the outcome. Like if a murderer asks you where the target of the murder is, you should tell them the truth. It's your duty to always tell the truth. Your intention is to tell the truth. The outcome is your friend gets murdered. That doesn't matter. A consequentialist cares about outcomes. A deontologist only cares about your duty and your obligation, and to treat all of your actions as a universal, to treat people as ends instead of means to an end. So, yeah, consequentialist is the right answer, quitter. So, yep. If you only care about your obligations, which one is this? I don't know why this thing's jumping around when I click on it. If you only care about your moral obligations rather than the consequences of your actions, then what does that make you? Give you the answer like 10 seconds ago. Yeah, your duty, right? If you care about your duty, not the consequences, then you're a deontologist. Yeah. Okay. If you care about minimizing pain, why is it jumping every time I click on it? If you care about maximizing pleasure and minimizing pain, the thing. What's it called? It's called when you care about pleasure and pain. Now remember, this doesn't mean like a lot of people think it means like sex, drugs, rock and roll, things like that. Not necessarily. You know, the philosophers who talk about maximizing pleasure and minimizing pain tend to be very boring people. And pleasure could be something like reading a good book or going to a play or something like that. This is utilitarianism. This specific flavor of, because there's different kinds of utilitarianism. There's like rule utilitarianism versus act utilitarianism. There's all sorts of different flavors. The one that we really focus on in this class is called ethical hedonism, and that is the notion that what defines good and evil is pleasure and pain. Okay. And so robbing somebody is evil because it inflicts pain on another person. And as Ashley put it, well, what if the person stealing what if they got pleasure from stealing? Well, if the amount of pleasure the person stealing your stuff is greater than the pain I would have of losing it, then it's ethical. Right? It's one of the big problems with utilitarianism, right? Like if people just enjoy evil, which oftentimes they do, if they enjoy the evil more than the harm they inflict, right? And then it's virtuous, right? So you just need somebody who really, really likes evil. Or we can't even call it evil because it would be a good action, right? I just really like punching people in the face. Like I get so much pleasure, then punching people in the face is a good action. It's morally good because they really like it. So it's how would you measure it? So that's part of the other issue with utilitarianism. That's supposed to be this scientific approach towards ethics, right? Like you sort of weigh up how many units of happiness are gained by the person stealing your stapler, and you weigh the amount of negative emotions, the pain of you go into your office, your stapler's gone, you're like, where's my stapler? And you can't do that, right? The actual measurement problem is sort of insurmountable, right? Like there's no scales that you put your head down on. And it's like, oh, well, you're feeling 5 units of happy right now. You can't actually do it. Like that's another one of the big problems with utilitarianism, especially ethical hedonism, is that you can't actually measure people's emotions, right? So, I punch my fellow employers to raise up base morale. Yeah. In Pathfinder: Wrath of the Righteous, there is a mythical ability you can take that every time you punch one of your teammates, they get +2 to hidden damage. So you're like basically motivating people by like punching them. So I forget what the name of it's called, but yeah, you basically you fireball your party, and then they're all like, then they go ham on people. So man, what's it called? It's called like gentle encouragement or something. I think. No, these are the feats. Enforced vigor. That's it. Enforced vigor. Some people motivate their companions by their mere presence, while you have learned that pain is a much more potent motivator. Every time you damage an ally, they gain a +2 mythic bonus on attack and damage rolls, and +1 on saving throws. It lasts for 5 rounds. So, you fireball your party and they go, Rah! And so I don't know what a utilitarian would make of that. You've inflicted pain on your allies, but they're also gonna do better, so I don't know. Like Quitter said, like it's just, like, how do you even measure units of pleasure, units of pain? There's no scale, there's no thermometer. Put this under your tongue and, oh, you're experiencing 4 units of pleasure right now. And somebody kisses your cheek, oh, you're experiencing 5 units of pleasure now. Nothing like that exists. Just another problem with utilitarianism. But a lot of people like utilitarianism. I shouldn't sell it too short. It's a very popular ethical system because, especially for atheists, they don't need God, right? Like a lot of Christians subscribe to, and most I would say Jews and Hindus and Buddhists and Muslims and Sikhs and Christians. A lot of I would say most probably subscribe to what's called divine command theory. Divine command theory is what's good and bad is set by your religion. Simple. Murder's wrong because God said murder's wrong. Easy. So, so for atheists, they can't use that, and so utilitarianism is an often common substitution for it, despite its problems. Sam Harris is rather famous atheist writer who is a hedonist, essentially, ethical hedonist. Again, not hedonist in the terms of like, woohoo, shoot up heroin, that kind of stuff. Just like he believes that it's health, maximizing health and minimizing sickness is kind of his standard. And that's a little bit easier to measure. Bodily health is a little bit easier to measure than emotions, but even still it suffers most of the same problems. Like if you could save somebody's life, like if you murder a homeless person, chop their organ bits up, and save 5 lives at the cost of sacrificing 1 homeless person, that's a good action according to Sam Harris, right? Because you've saved 5 lives at the cost of 1. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, right? So it still has issues, but I don't want to sell it too short. And some forms of utilitarianism, like rule utilitarianism, are a little bit better than ethical hedonism. Ethical hedonism is kind of the phase one utilitarianism. No. You feel like hedonism and Kantian are kind of opposites, yeah. Yeah. That's a good observation. So Kant is a very no-nonsense, no-fun kind of guy. Hey, honey, do I look good in this dress? No, you look horrible. Says Kant. You know. Well, how would you say that? Because you look horrible. You look like you know, when they take a sausage and they put too much meat into it and it's just spilling out everywhere. That's what you look like, says Kant. You know. Why can't you just tell me I look good? Because it's my duty to never lie to somebody, even to my wife. Yeah. So. Yeah, Kant was very big on not using other people as stepping stools. Don't use people as a means towards an end. Whereas, yeah, very very good observation. Whereas in utilitarianism, yeah, sure, that homeless person, they're a set of body parts. You can use them as a means to an end. You can chop them up and take their organs out and save the lives of 5 people. You know, you can use them as an object to satisfy, you know, your criteria, right? Whereas Kant's like, no, you cannot ever use other people in that way. The way you treat other people is the entire point. That is the goal. That is the end. How you treat other people. You must treat them according to the rule that any action you take towards them could be universal. If everybody did it, the world would be a better place. If everybody, you know, did an immoral action, the world would be a worse place. Stealing is wrong. Because if everybody stole, it would be pure chaos. Right? So there is a race in Dragonlance called the Kinder that the entire society is based on theft, and it's always been an interesting, amusing notion to me that as sort of a counterpoint to Kant, because Kant's like, look, if everybody stole everything, society would be chaos. And in Kinderhome, the home of the Kinder, which are this like halfling thief race, yeah, they just steal constantly from each other. You know, they just walk into somebody's house and walk out with their lamp. You know, if they need something, they walk into somebody's house and take a piece of bread. You know, and you know it's fictional, so who knows if it would actually work in practice, but at least is amusing. So truth tables, book programming language that Pythons in space use. Okay, that's a free point right there. Set theory, the union of A and the size of, it just jumped, the size of the intersection of A and B is 11, because these are the numbers from 1 to 10, these are the numbers, 1 to 9, that's 1 to 9, this is 0 to 10, so the union of them is just A, it's just 0 to 10. And so the size of it is 11. Make sure you don't confuse the error bars, the absolute value bars. Make sure you pay attention to that vertical slash. That is the size of the set. Okay, that is on the final size of the set. All right, see you, Brian. Yeah, it's been awesome having you in my class. Yeah, if you want, take game development with me over at Clovis. So, yeah, breaking your head is all part of the process. It's part of the fun. All right, see you. What class is game design? It's -50. And then Fresno State has game design also, which is 191T. I think I could be off on that. I don't teach it at Fresno State. This is the only class I teach at Fresno State. So, diagonals. What is diagonals? So, the way I teach it's different from Fresno State. Fresno State's very much an upper division computer science class where they run you through programming, OpenGL, and stuff like that. I have you guys use Unreal Engine. So, oh, diagonal. Nice. So what is A unioned with B complement? B complement is all numbers except for 1 to 9. So that's an infinite set. Union with an infinite set, it's infinite, so -1. Are you done, or is consultation hours like whenever you need to meet with a teacher online? I don't know. I actually don't know what consultation hours means at Fresno State. Like I said, we don't have it at our college. I just told the college at Fresno State I will be here doing consultation hours from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. So I'm just here, and I'm going to get through this sample final, and then I'll answer whatever questions you guys want. So remember, complement, intersect, union, absolute value bars, the size of, that's all on the final. It's more set theory. Okay, so EDM is important to computer scientists. It's true. It's true. I have my various sets of programming music that I listen to, and as long as there's no words in it, like you can use it as programming music. But like high energy, high BPM, EDM works really nicely as programming music with no words in it. So the only class I feel the need to check in with is this class, and another class where the teacher hates your guts. Why would they hate your guts? That's not cool. It is optional, but highly recommended. Yeah. Okay. Time to go. Must complete your math review. Thank you, Venon. It's been great having you in the class. And I hope you keep the 4 coloring as your profile pick for a while, just to trigger all of the students in this class. Teaching hierarchy. Bye. Yeah, so we have a set of people, some of which are DJs, some of which are European. So Guetta, Darude, Pezzi, and Cox. I think they're all, yeah, those are all Europeans. Carl Cox is probably the #1 DJ for, I don't know, a long, long time. David Guetta. Darude is from Denmark, I think. Pezzi's from Finland. David Guetta is from Netherlands? French? Okay, never mind. He's French. Okay. Is European a subset of DJ? What do you think? Of the 7, how many? 8 people that are left. Is European a subset of DJ? True. Yeah, it is. They're all found in DJ. All the Europeans are found in DJ. It is a subset. It's not a proper subset. It's a subset. Yeah, very good. All right, cool. See you, Ashley. And thanks, Ashley. Thank you for being so active on Discord. I really do appreciate it. Critical thinking is not the same if people are just sitting there like bumps on a log, just teach me, just tell me what I need to know. Like, I really do appreciate how active and involved you've been this semester. In Computer Science 1. So I wish to offer you my sincere thanks for being such an active participant. So, yeah. So hope to see you again in more computer science as a computer science major or minor or something at some point. So, and please, yeah, stay on Discord. It always makes me sad, to never see students again. So. All right, cool. See you. Yeah, you will not get kicked out. You'll not get kicked out. It's, yeah, it's kind of sad for me to, see students go, so I don't kick people off. Yeah, and if you ever have questions, just feel free to message me, even if you're not in my class. It's fine. Okay. Yeah, thank you, Bailey. It was great having you as well. It's nice meeting you and your mom that one time at the workshop. So. All right, see you, Ashley. All right, let's finish this off. The DJs from the Netherlands, they're good. Infected Mushroom and Astral Projection are Israeli DJs. Infected Mushroom and Astral Projection are not good. So, if X, then Y. Not X, therefore not Y. That would be denying the antecedent. It's a fallacy. If X then Y, not X, therefore not Y, denying the antecedent. You just need to get good at recognizing that. A friend posted the following meme: top shot of Nazi rally caption, and never understood a Nazi Germany could have happened. Shot of a Trump rally caption, I get it now. What fallacy is this? This is a fallacy we didn't exactly go over in this class. It's a reductio ad Hitlerum, where you just say because it's similar to something Hitler did, it's Hitlerish. You know, it's a very common tactic, especially on the left, where they just compare everything with Nazis. You know, although the right does it as well. For example, anytime gun control comes up, somebody will mention that Hitler was for gun control, therefore implying that anyone who is for gun control is like Hitler. You know, so it's called a reductio ad Hitlerum. It's not on your final. We didn't get to it this year. There's a lot of fallacies, by the way. There's like hundreds of them. A friend of mine posted something along these lines on Facebook. It is okay for Trump to say the election was stolen because Hillary Clinton said last year that Trump was an illegitimate president and that he knows he stole the 2016 election. So this was after the 2020 election was over. And again, anytime I take a shot at one side, this is obviously a left-wing meme. I take a shot at the right wing. It's part of my aggressive neutrality program. So this is a two quote, right? So because one person did something bad, it's okay for the other person to do something bad. You know, two quote, you too. Fallacy. And advertising slogans. Why does this thing leap all over the place? It's so annoying. I bought 2 PlayStations and both of them have broken. Therefore, PlayStations are poorly made devices. So that would be a false generalization, or a hasty generalization. Fallacy. The longer I have stayed in CSI 1, the more temperature has dropped. Therefore, taking CSI 1 caused the temperature to drop. My apologies. Do you guys remember which fallacy this one is? The 5 of you that remain. It's true, though. The longer we have been in CSI 1, the more the temperature has gone outside. It's good that you guys are ending after this week, because if we continue, it would just go into the negatives. It'd plunge the Earth into eternal winter. Correlation is not causation. Yeah, exactly. Okay. The lights on a car are moving past my house at 30 miles an hour. Nothing can travel faster than that, because nothing can travel faster than light. It's which fallacy? It's a good one. I forgot that I'd written that. The lights on a car are moving past my house at 30 miles an hour. Nothing can travel faster than 30 miles an hour because nothing can move faster than light. What fallacy is that? You guys remember? Equivocation. So in this case, a light is referring to the taillights of a car. It's not referring to the speed of light. I hope that God doesn't exist, because all evidence that could support the existence for God, I know, must be wrong, so there's no evidence for God, therefore we must reject the proposition that God exists. What fallacy is that? This one is on the final. I know God doesn't exist, because all the evidence that could support the existence of God is wrong. I know it's wrong, so there's no evidence for God. Therefore, God doesn't exist. Circular reasoning. Very good. I know the Bible is true because my priest told me the Bible is true. What fallacy is that? It's also on the final. Appeal to authority. Very good. Republicans support guns. You're Republicans, you must like guns. Republicans support like guns? I don't know what that is. So, fallacy of division, as you saw there. You're a Democrat and like guns, therefore Democrats must like guns. It's the other one, it's fallacy of composition. And then the last one, If you lick a metal pole in wintertime, your tongue will get stuck to it. Well, I once licked a metal pole in wintertime and my tongue didn't get stuck to it. Yeah, okay, but you grew up in San Diego. I meant like actual winter. Moving goalposts and what other fallacy? NTS. What does NTS stand for? No. True. What? No true Scotsman. It's when using a relevant objection to gatekeep somebody from being a member of the group. So, for example, the person says they made a claim that if you lick a pole in wintertime, your tongue gets stuck to it. The person provides a counterexample. I licked a pole and it didn't get stuck to it. And they say, yeah, but that's not real winter. That's a classic no true Scotsman fallacy. No, it's still winter. It's just not that cold. Yeah. So that is the sample final. Yeah, we should save the change because there's a small typo on it. So you take this one, and then there's another sample final called Sample Final Spring 2021. Take that one as well. And then when you're ready, take final part 1. It's part 1 out of 1. Can't wait for all the questions on Discord for... I made a note, by the way. Sample final, not the real final. Don't take this. I think it's a real final. Yeah, just waiting for people to be like, where's part 2? No, it's just part 1 out of 1. What if you just take the final after taking... go for it. Knock yourself out. Honey, it's not just me who thinks we should start collecting samurai swords. It's common local opinion. According to who? Husband is right. I agree with the husband. Often the husband is right, and this is a case of one of those cases. Those aren't real people. You're using a botnet. How dare you? It just happens that a large group of anonymous of the individuals support my viewpoint by screaming it. He is right. Wife is wrong. Did they just follow you around everywhere? This is how you got promoted at work. See you, Sebastian. Alright, so obviously this is an ad populum. Okay, so appeal to popularity, or appeal to bandwagon fallacies, another way of putting it. Getting banned from Facebook. Yeah. So I have a lot of webcomics in this one. That's cool. Correlation's not causation. Anyway, so that will bring me to the end of the semester. So again, hope you guys learned some valuable stuff. Hope you guys had a good time. Hope you all do well on the final. The final's not designed to be hard or tricky or anything like that. Don't second guess yourselves. If you get the answer true 5 times in a row, that doesn't mean you have to pick false. A lot of students do that. If you have any questions about the final, about the class, about life, fire away. I know Becerra wanted to talk to me. And there's 4 people left at this point. So I'll give you guys an opportunity right now to ask questions for the live stream. If not, I will turn the stream off and wish you all a most merry winter break. Hope you have a scene like this where it's a very cozy house in a snowstorm. Looks like Telluride or something. Where is this? I kind of want to know where this is. I mean, they got satellite dishes, but they don't have a road. Looks like people are just walking through the snow. Maybe skiing. Yeah, there's some ski tracks in there too. Kind of looks like Telluride to me. I don't know. Okay, list the topics you need to study for the final. I just went through them over the last hour or so. Basically every topic in the class, there is at least one question on. Let's see here. Go to the very top. Take it from the top. Evaluating claims. There's a couple points on that. You will be given a news article, and you have to evaluate if the claim made in the news article is true or false. There's a couple on that. Truth tables. There's a few points on that. Valid, invalid, and sound. There's like 6 points on that, including modus ponens, modus tollens, denying the antecedent, and affirming the consequent. 6 points on all that. Ethical theories, there's 3 points on ethical theories. So make sure you know the 5 different ethical theories we talked about in this class. Autonomous vehicles, I don't think there's anything on autonomous vehicles in particular. 1 question on Scratch, 1 question on Python also. Other fallacies, there's, I think, 5 points more on fallacies and cognitive biases. So I didn't do all of them. I just picked a handful of them. Circular logic is definitely on there. And yeah, there's a selection of different fallacies. Framing is not on the final. I just forgot to talk about it. Sorry. Therac 25 is a brief mention on the final. Racism has a question on the final. Scratch, I already talked about that. Social media corporate censorship is on there. Parasocial networks is on there. Cognitive biases are on there. It's lumped in with the fallacies. Motivated reasoning is not. Set theory is. Set theory is. There's, I think, 3 points on set theory on the final. And group bias is not. However, one thing that Shelby Weatherby talked about is on the final. More set theory. There is deductive, inductive, and abductive reasoning. I think there's 2 points on that across 4 questions. Binary numbers is 1 question and 1 point. Replication crisis has 1 question. The nature of scientific revolutions has 1 question. Beautiful science has 1 question. So there you go. That's the breakdown of points on the final. Okay. So if you just kind of scan through the topics on modules, basically everything except for in-group bias and framing has questions on it. It's comprehensive for a reason. Doesn't give you permission to forget the earlier stuff in the class. Does that help, Mindy? Okay, no problem. Thank you for being in the class. Anyone else? Cepeda, you got a question? You learned a lot? Yeah. I'm glad. I like teaching this class so much. I'm teaching in a different institution just so I could teach it, because that's how much I like teaching. So, all right, we'll call it here. Becerra, go ahead and I don't know, hop into office hours or just message me. Either way. Okay. So I'll be around till 1. All right. Peace out, you guys. And thanks again for a wonderful semester. I appreciate you all. You're all incredible. What was it? The Keanu Reeves. We'll finish with a meme. What was it? What is it? What was the meme? Keanu Reeves. You are breathtaking. That's it. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. You're breathtaking. Okay. So, we'll finish with that. There we go. You all are. So, thank you again. And